All right, let's dive in. Today, we're looking at a pretty radical new vision for how we build software. And I'm not just talking about writing cleaner code. This is a pitch for a completely different, much more sustainable digital world. It's a huge idea. And to really get it, we've got to start with a question that sounds, well, a little weird.
So, a programmer named Rakitine often kicks off his lectures with this question. Where does the whole from a bagel go? It sounds philosophical, I know, but just stick with me for a second, because the answer to this is actually the key to this entire concept.
You see, the whole, it's the most important part. It doesn't really go anywhere because it represents the idea, the algorithm, the blueprint for the thing you're about to make. In the world of ideas, nothing just vanishes. That whole, that concept, it exists before the bagel is even baked.
And that simple thought experiment brings us right to a massive problem in software today. We are living in a world of what Rakitine calls bagel programs, and honestly, they're creating a staggering amount of digital pollution.
So here's the fundamental issue. Almost all software today is built in what you'd call a code-centric world. The algorithm, that essential idea, our bagel hole, it gets lost. It's buried and basically invisible inside the code itself, inside the bagel. The business rules and the computer's instructions are all tangled up in a giant mess.
And this way of doing things, well, it leads to all sorts of problems. The software becomes fragile and super expensive to maintain. It leads to this endless, wasteful cycle of rewrites. You build something, it becomes a mess, you abandon it, you rebuild it from scratch. All of that churn creates this digital pollution, a kind of waste that huge global reports from bodies like UNCTAD are completely, and I mean completely missing.
Okay, so how do we actually fix this mess? The solution isn't a small tweak. It demands a total paradigm shift, one that goes way beyond what people normally think of as green programming.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Traditional green coding is almost entirely focused on runtime efficiency. You know, how much energy a program sucks up while it's running. But this new idea, Eco-Methodological Sustainability, or EMS, it looks at the entire life cycle. It's about how the software is built, how it's maintained, and how long it lasts.
And that's the absolute crucial point here. Real sustainability in the digital world doesn't just come from saving a few watts of power. It comes from building systems that are durable, that are easy to repair, that are built to last. It's about cutting out waste from the very first moment you start designing.
So that's the big idea. But how do we actually do it? Well, there's a practical solution, a methodology that makes all this possible. It's called V-Agent-Oriented Programming, or VAOP for short.
Okay, so if the old wasteful way gives us bagel programs with that hidden empty hole, VAOP lets us build muffin programs. Just think about it for a second. In a muffin, the blueberries aren't hidden. They're a visible, delicious, integral part of the whole thing. With VAOP, the algorithm is no longer some hidden void. It's a key ingredient that everyone can see and access.
And here's the beautiful simplicity of how VAOP works. It's just 3 steps. First, you describe your algorithm, all the business logic, in its own clear, separate script. Then, you code all the individual actions as little standalone modules. And finally, you have a software agent that just runs the script, calling on those action modules whenever it needs them. You've completely separated the what to do from the how to do it. That separation, right there, is the absolute game changer. It makes software unbelievably adaptable and durable. Why? Because when the business rules need to change, and let's be honest, they always do, you just update the script. You don't have to go back and rewrite the entire tangled-up codebase.
But a powerful programming method by itself isn't quite enough. The vision here is so much bigger. It's about building a global movement, really, a foundation for a whole new kind of sustainable digital economy. And the mission is to create something called the Eco-Programming Alliance, or the EPA. The whole point is to champion these sustainable practices across the globe, creating a new gold standard for software development. This will be supported by the EPADAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, basically a community-run group where all the members get to vote on the future of the alliance. And the alliance is going to have some really clear, concrete goals. It's going to unite all these algorithm-centric methodologies, develop brand new ESG metrics that actually measure software durability, and create real economic reasons for companies to build tech that lasts. And this fits perfectly with huge global initiatives like CODs. And you know, we have to give credit where credit is due. This entire framework, from the bagel and muffin analogies to the VAOP method and the whole vision for the EPA, this all comes from Rakitine, a programmer now based in Canada,
with decades of real-world, in-the-trenches experience.
So this brings us to the call to actions. This is where you come in. This is a direct appeal to the visionaries, the investors, the developers out there to help us build this future. We're looking for donations and expertise for a new nonprofit, for investors for a pre-ICO, that's a very early investment round, for the EPADAO, and for talented developers to build out the core team.
Really, this is an open invitation to all the members of the COD's global network, and to anyone out there who thinks we can do better, who believes in a sustainable digital world. This is your chance to get in on the ground floor of something truly pioneering.
So we're going to end right back where we started, with a question. When you look at the incredible amount of digital waste and technical debt that we're creating every single day, aren't we ready for a change? Are we ready to stop making disposable bagels and start baking durable muffins for a future that can actually last?